she's here as well. But the question that was asked was about, sound, and some of you might be already, you might have practiced different forms of meditation, silent being one of them. So we're going to see what sound is, because in order to really understand, we have to know what that thing actually is, right? So you're going to do a little PowerPoint, bring up a couple of slides.
I like slides.
He likes it, yeah. It works with his scientific engineering mind, right? So we have to share. Just give us a minute.
All right, everybody, welcome to our 21-day meditation challenge. The reason we call it a challenge is that for two reasons. It is a challenge to do anything for a certain continuous period of time. And the other reason is the mind likes a challenge. If you just call it meditation, then the mind says, I'm not interested in meditation. But when you call it meditation challenge, the mind says, okay,
I can do it.
Let me try.
Yeah.
It's something hard, I will try it. Okay, so
yesterday, can we just go back? This comes later. Okay. So I guess we want to talk about sound.
You want to talk about sound. And it's very interesting that sound is described in such detailed way in the Vedic texts, wisdom texts, that when we first learned about it was very fascinating to see sound described in such deep ways. There's layers of sound within us. We are only aware of sound that is outside us, but there are at least 4 or 5 layers of sound within us.
Can we just backtrack a little bit?
Yeah.
Because there were so many new people who joined today.
Yeah.
So, why are we talking about sound? Because we are surrounded by sound. And the ancient Vedas actually describe, and actually incident, so does the Bible, that in the beginning there was the word. And in the same way, in the ancient Vedic text, it's described that everything starts with sound. So our entire journey in this whole material realm actually has its origin in sound. And in some ways, we could even say that we are made up of sound.
You're made of sound. And that's why the Vedas say that, hey, you're caught up in this world of duality, fear, anxiety, so many things. So the only thing the most effective way to get free from this embrace of this negative things is to use sound. So sound kind of...
Right, but actually, sound also binds us, right?
Yeah.
And so we were just talking about that just yesterday. I'm just trying to do a little recap for those that didn't join. That so we talked about this yesterday. Sound actually binds us in this material world, and then how sound impacts us at so many different levels. And we talked about how like there is scientific evidence to the point that if you live by a road and you experience a lot of road noise, it can actually have an impact on your health. And they even talk about like how if you live in an environment where you have a lot of toxic sounds, it can actually make you sick.
And how positive sounds, they help everybody. Like scientists have done experiment on plants with classical music, like say from Mozart or somebody. It really increases their yield and their growth tremendously. Even animals respond positively to positive sound.
And remember, we were just watching this video by Michio Kaku, who's the person who started particle physics.
One of the pillars of particle physics. He's a professor at SUNY, State University of New York, and he's one of the theoretical physicists. So he was saying that how in his study he has found that the whole universe is actually made of a symphony of sound. It's a sound, the vibration of different sounds.
Because everything, all matter at its very base level it's vibrating, right?
Vibrating, yeah.
And so even though I don't know much science, but that's what I understand.
That's good enough.
Yeah, it's good enough, right? So everything is vibrating, and since anything that vibrates is it'll produce a sound.
So if anything vibrates, then it's also affected by another vibration. And that's why we have this concept of resonance. Things go in resonance.
Or dissonance.
Or dissonance.
Right. And so the point being that but the reason why we struggle with it is because the sound in this material realm, there are 2 kinds of sound. And I guess that's where it gets interesting. There is a material sound, but there's also a spiritual sound. So the material sound is called the struck sound, which means that 2 material objects have to come together to create a sound. But there is something which is a completely different kind of sound which the Vedas talk about, right? Which is called the anahata, or the unstruck sound.
Unstruck sound. So anyways, to tickle your brains a little bit tonight or this morning. We'd like to present to you this anatomy of sound, very scientifically presented in the Vedas. And it talks about not just one kind of sound or two kinds of sound, but actually 4 kinds of sound that are within us. And the sound as we know it is only the top, the surface. It's like the tip of the iceberg. But the iceberg is very deep.
It is very deep, right? Yeah. And I guess all of these 3 kinds of sound.
4, yeah.
Well,
yeah, other than
barring aside the unstruck sound or the spiritual sound, the material sound has this quality that it will always produce anxiety, right? This material sound means anxiety. So anyways, go ahead. I just kind of.
So the first level of sound, which begins in all of us, when we come into this material realm, we take this body. So the first beginning of sound that enters us is this spiritual sound. It's called the paravak. And it's as many of you may know that we have 7 chakras. Chakras in the body are like energy centers through which different energies are focused and then routed to different parts of our body and our consciousness. So the root chakra is called the Muladhara chakra or the root chakra, and that's where our original consciousness enters. And it's called the pure spiritual consciousness, and it's also called the spiritual sound. That's where the original sound enters us. We are not aware of it because it's all covered right now for us. And this process of meditation will explain how it helps us to get to that. So that's called the spiritual sound of Parava. And that sound then moves up. So our original consciousness is pure. And when it gets contaminated by matter, then it becomes impure consciousness. And that then rises to this next level of chakra called the Manipur Chakra or the solar plexus chakra, which is above our navel. And that's where the sound manifests as an idea, image, vision. It's called Pashyanti Vak in Sanskrit, but it means that vision, like when we have a vision of something. Like for example, and at this level, the object that we are thinking of, say for example, a mango, and its representation in words or speech, there's no difference. So right now when we say mango and the mango itself are different. But at this level, the idea or image, there's no differentiation. Because the same mango may be called in different languages using different words. But here, there's no difference between the object and its representation. So that's the idea level, image level. It's deeper within us. And then the sound rises further into our heart chakra.
And that's called the mental sound.
Yeah.
The Madhyama Vak, right? If I remember.
Madhyama Vak, yeah.
So this is actually quite interesting because, we sometimes in our quest to seek silence, we think, okay, if I can just eliminate all the toxic sounds on the outside, right? But actually we have more sound at our mental level than we have sounds on the outside. And, you can switch off a television or you can switch off whatever MP3 player or whatever. You really cannot switch off the mind. I mean, those of us who have tried to sleep at night, try switching off the mind. It's just the more you try to switch it off, the more it gets active, right? So the mental sound is something that's constant chatter of the mind, and it has this sort of deprecating quality to it. It's like constantly putting us down. You're no good, you're inadequate, you're a failure, you're a loser.
Or you're too good.
Or you're too good. 2 sides of the same coin, right? Yeah. So it's like constantly trying to either perch us up or it's trying to pull us down. And the mind actually acts as our biggest enemy. And the sound of this mind is actually this mental chatter that we are dealing with.
And the thoughts and then the going back and forth, and I want this, I don't want this, and this person is like that. That's all mental chatter. And then when the sound rises further up, then actually it comes out of our mouth as the gross sound that we hear. And it's called Vaikariva. But this is like just a tiny portion of the actual sound that is within us. It's like a whole warehouse of sound within us that we don't even see. And a small window opens and a little bit of stuff comes out. That's the gross sound. So the idea of this.
And I guess the challenge right now is that all of these different sounds are, you use the word dissonant.
Yeah.
So all these sounds are dissonant. So for example, New Year's come, we wake up on the 1st and we say, I'm going to make a New Year resolution or I'm going to do this. Now that's just Vaikari Vak. It's just coming at a gross level. But my mental sound and my...
or you may even make a resolution in the mind that, okay, I'm going to really do it. But
all these other sounds are taking us in different direction.
Yeah.
So the whole purpose, so I guess this is one of the reasons why we're not able to stick with something. And then the second thing is, I think we talked about this yesterday. Somebody asked a question about silent meditation. This is another reason why just engaging in silent meditation will not help us, because in silent meditation, all we are doing is we are just switching off the gross sound. Even if you switch off the gross sound, maybe to some level the mental chatter will reduce, but you can't stop that mental chatter, right? The mind hasn't, even when we are sleeping, the mind is still acting.
So how are you going to stop that?
How are you going to stop that? So the mind is continuously in a state of sound, and then go deeper into the intelligence, there is still sound. And then of course at the deepest self, there is sound. So then what is the solution? So then the Vedas come in and they say, that there is a different kind of sound that can negate all of these different sound. And once all of these three levels of sound are negated, that is actually the state of perfect silence. But that silence is not silent. There is a sound. There's a spiritual sound within that silence.
Yeah, that silence is mainly the alignment of, right now, the gross sound, mental sound, the Pashyanti Vak, and they are not in alignment with the spiritual sound. So they just keep going in their own direction. And as a result,
it's a cacophony.
Yeah, it's a cacophony, yes. And this real silence is basically the alignment of this sound to the spiritual sound. And then that's what
we want to do, right? So
that's what the mantras.
That's what the mantras do. So the mantras, the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam, they say that let's, just like in homeopathy, like cures like. So let's eliminate, the impact of the bondage of the material sound by introducing a spiritual sound. And so that's what, mantra basically means. Mana means mind and tra means to free the mind. So we are trying to free the mind from all fear, stress, and anxiety by introducing this spiritual sound.
And that spiritual sound basically transforms our gross sound, transforms our mental sound, transforms our the Pashyanti Vak, and then brings it in alignment with the spiritual sound. So all four levels then becomes spiritual sound. And then once they are in resonance, then you'll see that the incredible focus and the efficiency in our like thoughts.
It will be like a symphony.
Yeah, and then like when we want to execute something, just on a practical level.
Yeah.
But on a spiritual level, it gives us a platform where we can rise much higher than where we are. Like it's like taking an elevator going to the 100th floor, and we can see the world in a completely different way. We've never seen it like that.
I like that very much. So I guess we'll bring in the Bhagavad Gita verse now, which and if you've been anxious to read, so there is a verse in the Bhagavad Gita. The first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is a very interesting chapter, and we'll talk about this maybe tomorrow. It's called Vishada Yoga, which means the yoga of lamentation. But there, the first chapter, you see a lot of discussion about sound there.
Right? Yeah, the first chapter is a lot of names and a lot of sound, and different kinds of sounds are described. Very interesting. And then this verse actually has kind of caught our attention because it introduces this transcendental sound. And this is how it goes. Tata shvete haye yukte mahati shandane stito andhava pandavaschaiva divyo shankho pradatmatu.
On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded the transcendental conch shells.
And it is described that when, especially Krishna's conch shell is described as transcendental. When Krishna sounded this conch shell, although everybody heard it, but because the sound was spiritual sound, it had a tremendous impact on both the parties. As you know,
but different.
But different impact. Like the Kauravas who were on the opposite side, their hearts were shattered. They became very despondent. Okay, we are going to lose it. And where Arjuna, who was on Krishna's side, he had a very powerful impact on his heart. And the impact was that it kind of broke him open. It broke him open.
I like that.
Yeah.
Broke him open. Yeah. There's actually a book by that name.
Yeah.
Broken Open, which means that, it just sort of suddenly he found himself in a state of deep inquiry and introspection.
Yeah.
And from that place, he started really, really contemplating about who he really was. And then thus the Bhagavad Gita spoken. So this is the impact of this transcendental or spiritual sound, that it'll start reconnecting us to our spiritual nature.
Yeah, it pulls us to our the original source, and that's what happened to Arjuna. So the transcendental sound is like a seed. It's like a seed that sometimes when you look at a seed, you don't really see the tree in it. Okay, this seed, this is a small seed. What does it really have? And if you give it to somebody, hey, I'm giving you a mango tree. You give the seed to somebody, I'm giving you a mango tree, but there's no mango tree. I don't see the mango tree. I don't see the fruits. What are you giving me? But be patient. If you put the seed in the ground and water it and just wait, within a few years, the seed will fructify into a plant and a tree, and then the fruits will start coming out. So that's how the seed works. So this is the same mechanism with the sound mantras. Mantras are like a collection of very potent seeds, and we put them in our consciousness and water it with our attention. then what happens is they grow very quickly. And then we can see the fruits, we can taste the fruits. And the fruit is, what is the fruit? The fruit is?
What is the fruit? You tell me.
The fruit is that we start realizing who we truly are. We start enjoying this great happiness that is dormant within us, coming from the Paravat.
And we also reconnect to the source of all sound, right? The embodiment of spiritual sound. And we realize that we're actually not alone in this universe, because one of the biggest melodies, actually Mother Teresa said, she said the greatest poverty in the world is actually not poverty of the body or the poverty of the stomach, but it's poverty of the heart. So we're all sitting here feeling so alone, especially during this time of pandemic. So when we connect to our essential source through sound, then what happens is we suddenly realize that there is no room for fear or loneliness anymore.
And it's a very powerful experience, that because when we ourselves are fully aligned with our source, and all four of our sounds are aligned, then we also become a beacon of emanating this positive energy, just like Krishna's conch shell had such an impact. So our speech, when it comes out, when we are aligned, also has a tremendous impact in this world.
I like that very much. So with that,
you had this story about...
No, we don't have time for the story. So I'll hold the story for tomorrow.
Okay.
Because we are, becomes living with him, I become much more cognizant of time. So, right?
You can say it in 1 minute.
No, thank you. Just tomorrow. So this is the mantra. There are many, many mantras given in the Vedas. And they're all, very powerful. The mantra that we meditate on is actually called the Maha Mantra. And, what's special about this mantra is that we are trying to connect with the divine source in his most intimate and accessible form. So you have mantras like Om, which are also, they're also, the same transcendental spiritual vibration, but it's like seeing or connecting with that spiritual source from a little bit of a distance.
Yeah, just like if you had, for example, in this mantra, you have the word, I don't know if you're seeing it.
No,
is it still shared?
No, it's not shared.
Okay, just 1 second. So for example, if all the energy of this world came in front of us, we can't even look at the sun with our naked eyes, right? How long we can hold the sun in our vision, right? We can't hold it. So just imagine all the energy of the universe came in front of us. We won't be able to handle it. But when it comes to us in the form of mantra, so that whole energy is contained in this word Hare. Everything, all the energy is contained, and it's accessible to us.
It's accessible to us. And Krishna means this, it means the most anything that holds our attraction. Because sometimes people think that spiritual life means complete negation of all pleasure and all happiness and all attraction. But anything that attracts us in this world actually has its source in the absolute truth. So Krishna means the all absolute, all attractive person. And Rama means the source of all pleasure. So spiritual life is not a negation of pleasure. It's the refinement of pleasure.
It's the ambition for getting the highest pleasure. We don't want to shortchange ourselves with the tiny pleasure of this world, but we want to go for the best.
For the best, and Rama means that. So by chanting these names, these words, we are actually coming in direct contact, because this is something we'll talk about this tomorrow or day after, that there's no difference between the sound and the object. So just by saying these words, we are actually coming in contact with all pleasure, all benevolence, all mercy, right?
And then we are planting these seeds. These are seeds. So we're planting these seeds in our consciousness, and rest assured that these seeds will fructify. They will grow and fructify. So the way we do this mantra is we say each word clearly, like Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And while we are chanting, the only thing we have to do is to hear ourselves. So while we'll be chanting, you can chant at your own space or speed, and just hear yourself. That's all you have to do. If your mind goes here and there thinking about other things, just gently bring the mind to listening.
And just expect that the mind will go. In fact, for many people, when they start this process of mantra meditation, the first thing they realize is, oh, I do have a mind. We always identify with our thoughts, right? We don't even know that we can actually become an observer of our thoughts. So the first thing we'll notice is that we have a mind. And please don't get discouraged, because that's the beginning. And then gradually just bring the mind back from those thoughts back to the sound. back to the sound, back to the sound. And that actually is what yoga is, bringing the mind to the sound. And if you can even just hear one syllable of this mantra, consider that a great, great success.
And don't worry about, we are going to chant it 108 times. Just focus on one mantra or one word at a time and just listen to it. So let's try that.
Let's try that. And I think somebody asked us a question about the speed. If you think that our speed, because we've been doing it for some time, if it's a little bit on the faster side, you can chant at your own pace.
And then normally you may feel that, okay, I don't have enough breath. So what we do is like, you breathe in whenever you need to. So for example, after chanting one mantra, you can breathe in, then you have enough oxygen to chant the next mantra. So you find your pace, breathe in and out as is more comfortable for you. And let's give it a try.
All right. So before we chant this mantra, we're going to chant another special mantra that actually evokes the blessings of the great teachers and the great personalities who have actually handed us this mantra, right? So Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So we'll stop here and take any reflections or any questions or comments. What was your experience you want to share with the rest of the group? It just helps us go deeper in our experience.
Hare Krishna. Good morning or good evening for you. Thank you so much for sharing the sound chart. I found that really interesting, and I definitely find that this mantra practice helps me. I feel a similar peace that I do when I'm like 5-6 days into silent meditation.
Yeah.
And I remembered something that they tell me at the Vipassana camp, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it. They say that chanting mantra suppresses sensation, and so it actually makes it harder to, as you say, wipe the dust away from our spiritual reflection, because we're suppressing our sensation with the mantra. And I don't know, that doesn't really correspond to my experience of this practice, but I'm also like spiritually naive. So I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this particular thing.
Actually, it makes the senses come alive. Right now, our ability to perceive anything is limited by the limitations of our senses. And the mantra just expands our consciousness and expands our ability to perceive and refines our emotions and the feelings in our heart. And that has been our experience.
Actually, each of our senses are covered with these 2 layers. When we talk about this Paravak and Pashyanti Vak and Madhyama Vak and Vaikari Vak, that can apply to each one of our senses. So they are all covered by different layers. So when we go through this, when we practice this mantra meditation, then it basically removes all the dust from all the senses, and they actually come out alive.
Actually, I was just remembering there is this very great bhakti teacher. His name is Rupa Goswami, and he speaks about his experience with chanting, and that may give us an indication of what perfection looks like. And he says that when I chant, I desire like 1,000,000 years and like 1,000,000 tongues. And he says when the sound enters into the courtyard of my heart, all my senses become inert, and I experience the highest transcendental ecstasy. So, it's actually a state of, very deep experience of pleasure.
Yeah, just like when we are sleeping, then our senses are inactive, right? They're dull. But as soon as we wake up, then all our senses, they become active. So similarly, this mantra basically wakes us up. It's like a wake up.
So yeah, I'm sure there are, these are all bona fide authorized ways of meditation. But for us, especially, we find that our minds are so active that when it gets something that is sweet to latch onto, it's like kind of like working with a child, and you just tell the child, just go, and we raised a son, right? So, just tell him, go sit in that corner and don't do anything and don't think of this. And it's the last thing that's going to happen. But, you give the child, like for us, our son loved artwork. So he could just sit with his artwork for hours. He would never complain. So the mind actually gets a positive candy, like something sweet to latch onto, and then meditation just becomes effortless, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditi. I think is it Bhuvanesh? Yes.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna,
Yes.
Dandavat Pranam. I would like to share my experience, like chanting with a group. This mantra touches my heart, like when I chanted with you all. So it struck to my heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Misha, go ahead, and then Bhuvaneshwari. Not sure. I thought
maybe she was just
okay. Maybe you were just.
Well, excuse me. Well, yes, I did have a question about. It's very rudimentary, but how do you know how long you should be chanting the mantra? Like, if you're so focused on the chanting, how do you know when you should be finished? Is it 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Do you set a timer? How do you know how many repetitions to do?
While we love the online portals so very much, we become quite, Zoom addicts here. But there are certain things that are just a little bit harder. One of them is that actually we always chant on these beats. And as you can see, There are 108 beads in there. So when you go around one circle, that's considered to be like one round, and it's recommended because the mind has a way of like sort of just getting spaced out or zoned out. So we always like to keep a count of how many mantras we've chanted in a day. So like Loka and I, we chant at least 16 rounds of this every day. So, you know, you can start with maybe one circle or two circle, but the idea is discipline. The idea is that if you fix one, then you stay with one.
Try and stay with one circle.
Yeah.
And that's how you keep count without actually counting, because while we are meditating, we don't want to count. So just forward.
Okay, so I should use my mala beads for that, like when I'm not practicing with you.
Yes.
And on
And
each
that would help.
beat, you chant the mantra, the full mantra, and then you move on to the next beat. And that way, yeah.
And so those of you who have your beads at home, you can use that. Yes, Shrishti, go ahead.
Thank you.
And then Bhuvadeshwari.
Talking about discipline, I just have a question, maybe for the later sessions, but how do you maintain that consistency in chanting? I mean, I think that's the most challenging part. Starting it or initiating it is not, but then maintaining that consistency and doing it every day religiously, I think that is the most difficult part for me, at least. So what do you suggest, and how we can maintain that consistency?
That's why we're trying to do this 21 day. They say there is some study that says if you do something consistently for 21 days, it becomes a habit.
Yeah, and it's maintaining anything is hard. But what we found when we started this, we started with just one circle, one mala, and we just did it consistently. And the way to do it consistently is, if you don't do it, you don't sleep. This is what we basically applied on ourselves. That hey, some days are tough, and then the days goes by, and then at the end of the night you say, hey, maybe I'll just skip today, tomorrow I'll do two. And as soon as you break that cycle, then the mind will say some other excuse next day. So even though you are maybe doing it later at night and it's not such good meditation, but you maintain the consistency. And the next day the mind will say, hey, it wasn't good that day, so let me just try it in the beginning of the day. The best thing is to do in the beginning of the day when there is not much going on and you're more peaceful. But you don't sleep without doing. That's the only way we have been able to kind of.
I was also going to say something else, that I am actually, whenever I start something, my family members know this about me, that I'm not the most consistent candidate. Like I have a lot of, in Ayurveda, I have a lot of vata, right? So, you would not consider so I have a history of 25 years of doing this, and I can tell you why. It's because a part of this practice, there is also grace that carries us. So when we try to make a little effort, a tiny little effort, there is so much of grace. And that's actually the beauty of bhakti. Again, going back to the initial discussion, that when we just try to use our own strength to either empty the mind or to focus on something, then we are really dealing with a much more impersonal energy. But here, because bhakti is all about a personal exchange, a personal connection. So it's not just me trying to latch on. The mantra is also trying to latch on to me.
True. That's true.
And that's actually a much more powerful force, because with my two hands, how much strength do I really have to latch on to anything?
And then when we are chanting, we can actually pray that, oh, this mantra, please latch on to me. Don't let me fall through the cracks. And that's the prayer, that hold on to me. And then you start getting a taste. And once you start getting a taste, then you want to do 2, you want to do 3, and it automatically happen at your own pace.
And the Bhagavatam says that once you get a taste, no matter what else you do, you'll just keep coming back to it, because that's the kind of taste there is. Yeah. Right? So hope that helps, Shrishti. Bhuvadeshwari. Go ahead. We've been holding you off for a long time because you are in-house.
I just wanted to.
I think one of your computers is muted. I think both you and your husband are using 2 computers close to each other.
No, you're echoing. Okay. Maybe just switch off one computer completely, is it?
Yeah.
So we'll come back.
I just wanted to share my reflection
Yes.
To what Aditi said in terms of the sensations, whether they go dormant or whether they come alive. And in my experience, I always thought that I was a very strong and, very emotionless person. But after I started chanting, I mean, I don't know why I cry, but I cry not in sadness, but I cry in some kind of happiness or satisfaction, or I really don't know the right words to describe. And I'm now more sensitive, and I think I'm more sensible when I'm talking to people. So I realized that this mantra will not make me make my sensations go numb, but like you said, come more active. So that's been my experience.
Very nice. Thank you, Bhuvaneshwari. That's been our experience too. So thank you. Anybody else? I don't know how to say your name, Fal Pandya. Just
where are you joining from?
Where are you joining from? If you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm from New Jersey, and I want to thank Amrita for inviting me. I joined a bit late, and I like to start a chanting practice. I'm not regular.
Oh, thank you so much. We're so grateful to Amrita for bringing you here. Very, very happy to have you here with us. Thank you. Anybody else? Misha? Let's see who else is there. Let's see.
Thiru or Kavita, Vijaya, Amy.
Betsy, I hope it was slower for you today and you were able to keep up with the chanting. And Garvita, thank you, Garvita, for joining. And thank you, Anadi, for your comment. It makes me feel very soothing, inner peace. Thank you for sharing this mantra. Thank you, Anadi, for being part of the mantra meditation today.
Kakali, it's good to see you. Thank you. You're joining from Canada, right? So thank you for joining. And Komal, thank you for joining. So great to have all of you sending out the positive energy to the world, and we can use all this positive energy.
Yeah. Any thoughts from you, Manjari? It's good to have you. Ritika?
Komal, go ahead.
Komal, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that, whenever I've tried to do this meditation on my own, it seems very long, but today was so quick because of the group energy. And I've done one with Amrita in person as well at her house. It was really nice. So thank you.
Thank you, Komal.
I hope this time it sticks.
It will. We'll all send out this intention that it may stick for all of you this time, and that you can make this a regular practice. We've been doing it for the last 25 years, and we can really, really attest to it that we have gone through all kinds of life situations in the last 25 years, as you can imagine. And in every single situation, it's been this practice that has sort of helped us, maintain our, ground and feel, the protection.
Yeah.
So I just lost my father early last year. So just in every life situation, this is something that'll really, it's a special gift that we can give to ourselves.
And then you become the giver of gifts to others as well, just by, you get the virus and you pass it on.
Yeah. Yes, Manjari, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, both of you. I would agree with Komal that, that whenever I'm connected with the group, then the practice is more strong. But whenever I don't attend a lecture for some time, then even the practice, my personal practice falters. So it's very important to be connected with the energy of the group.
That is actually the only way that one can stay, it's the association that actually, that carries us. So we plan to have this association with all of you. Thank you, Rachna. It's so good to see you after such a long time. We were missing you. So thank you.
Mel. Thank you for joining.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
मैं सिर्फ आपके 2 मिनट चाहती हूँ. मुझे बस आपके मुंह पे वो कीर्तन सुनना है.
I'll post my kirtan on Circle SO.
Yes.
So that's our new portal. For those of you who want to hear that, I'll just go ahead and make a few videos.
Yeah.
So, Amy, I'm so sorry, I lost my father, 12 years, my father-in-law, but yeah, it's so hard. Yeah, it is, it is. And then this, this vibration is something that can really, really,
And you can still pass on this vibration to your father. It will reach him. This vibration is so powerful, it can transcend any boundaries of space and time. So,
and even for your father-in-law, in fact, when we are chanting, we'll send some special prayers.
Yes.
Turtle, so good to see you. I guess we'll stop here at 7:50. We should finish on time. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. So I guess even if we can somehow stick around for the next 21 days, and you will see that in the next 21 days, there'll be things that'll come up and things that'll pull us in so many different directions. But if you can just keep this one constant for the next 21 days, we really encourage you. Actually, it's only 19 more days. If you can just maintain this constant. So let's not think about the rest of our life. Maybe we should just focus on 19 days.
Or let's just focus on tomorrow. I'll make it tomorrow. And then I'll decide again that I'll make it tomorrow.
Yeah, that's all we do. And then let's see how it goes. All right. And if you guys have any more questions, feel free to shoot us an email, write to us. We have a group of coordinators who are going to also reach out to you. So if you need extra support, if you have extra questions, you just want to talk to someone, we have a wonderful group of coordinators who are right there to, standing on standby.
And no question is a silly question. So even basics, if you want to find out how to breathe or how to do this, or how do I sit, or how do I walk around while doing this? Can I walk around, or can I have to sit? Do I have to sit down?
Do I have to take a bath before I do this?
Yeah,
anything.
So any question?
Or if you need any beads, we can also send you beads.
Yeah.
We can send you meditation kits. So yeah, feel free, connect with our coordinators, and they are a very helpful bunch of people.
And join the Circle SO group if you can.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Where we'll be posting kirtans and cooking videos.
Yeah, and other things. And all the material that we're sharing in this session, we'll share that in the Circle SO as well. So
Himanshu, it's good to see you. And we'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Krishna.